Alright guys, it's Thursday, so that means it should do summon time. So this weekend we have a new hero coming. It's a banner with the new hero and Comet, which is a great mage. So this is a great mage banner. The new hero is Beatrix. I don't know much about the hero, so we're gonna go over the kit. I know the one thing that she has crotch range when she's maxed, and she's a summoner. That's pretty much all I know about her, but she definitely sounds like an interesting hero. So we'll start with Beatrix here. We'll start with the talent. When an enemy dies in range, summons one Dream Eater that has a cooldown of 15 seconds. When Dream Eater explodes, Beatrix restores 2 rage. So I'm trying to click on Dream Eater. There we go. Inherits 100% of the Master's attributes and assists the Master in attacking enemies in range. Each attack deals 40% AoE magic damage to up to 5 enemies. When Dream Eaters exist for 18 seconds and explode on expiration, dealing 100 AoE damage to up to 5 enemies. Up to 4 can exist at one time. Okay, so the talent is just saying that whenever an enemy dies, she's summoning another one of these Dream Eaters, and that happens every 15 seconds. And she gains rage whenever one of these things dies. So basic attack, just pretty basic, no pun intended, but 100 AoE damage up to 5 enemies, not too bad. It goes up to 120% damage, so not too bad. I'm interested to see how her range does, because there's not really much content where that range is used, especially for a mage, so it's definitely going to be interesting. Soul Feast, her ultimate, summons 2 Dream Eaters. During the ultimate, increases the damage of both Beatrix and her summons by 20% and reduces the cooldown of talent by 5. So she summons 2 of her Dream Eaters immediately, meaning that she's basically attacking 3 times, pretty much, for 18 seconds, because that's how long they last. And then that talent, it can be activated every 10 seconds. So instead of the cooldown being 15 seconds, she can spawn another Dream Eater every 10. So that'll be interesting. I'm assuming that she will be able to max out the number of Dream Eaters she has if her damage is good enough, like in an area with like GR1 or AoE Arena. So she should have 4 of those out at once. So we'll move on to her passive. The basic attack of the hero and Dream Eater has a 20% chance of inflicting slow. That's not bad, especially as a cultist. She gains extra damage if used with the cultist lord. 15%, I think it is, to CC'd enemies. So her applying slow is good, not only just to help herself and her summons, but also for allies. So that's definitely interesting. The chance goes all the way up to 30%, and the duration of the slow is 1.5 seconds and goes up to 2. Okay. Interesting. Oh, okay, and it goes up to a 50% slow. So not the best, but not bad either. And then finally, her final passive, Spirit Drain. When an allied summon spawns on the battlefield, it increases the hero's attack by 1%, stacking up to 5 times. So that stack increases all the way up to 10% when max skilled, so she can gain another 10% post-deployment attack boost, which is pretty decent. It's not bad. It's like kind of having like an extra stack of Tear of Twilight. It's basically kind of boosting her attack by 10%. So if you can get like other summoners down with her, like let's just say a Xerath summons, I think it's 3 when he's not A1, when he first is deployed. So that is immediately just 3% extra attack for Beatrix. So definitely kind of going along with the theme of cultists becoming like a whole bunch of summoners, which is an interesting direction, and I'm all here for it. You know, I think it's really cool. This is kind of similar to Nora's passive that she has, where every time a summon dies, she increases attack and of Umerit and I think other allied summons. So definitely interesting. So she can definitely get boosted even more, I think, by having an Anora, because her summons would gain more, unless I'm forgetting. I'll have to double check on that. But she doesn't seem bad, but we're going to go into Awakenings. Each stack of Spirit Drain increases attack by 1%. Dream Eater's death can also grant one stack of Spirit Drain. Oh, okay. So each stack is giving her another 1%, I'm assuming, because it says when an allied summon spawns on the battlefield, increases the hero's attack by 1%. And now it's saying it increases her attack by 1%, which I think it already does, so I'm going to assume that means it gives her 2% instead for stack, so that means it's basically doubling the effect of that, if I'm reading that correctly. And then every time a Dream Eater dies, it also grants one stack. Okay. So she doesn't need other summons. Oh, wait. So she's just getting her stacks up quicker because she's already summoning, meaning she's already boosting her own attack, but she is able to do that quicker because when they die, before she summons another, she's gaining extra attack. So that shouldn't increase the talent by a lot, hopefully. Her damage is good. That should boost her much quicker if it's giving her 2 times the attack per summon or per stack, but I don't know if that's how that's going to work. Alright, A2 is just more attack, which scales pretty well with her kit considering she has a post-deployment attack boost in her kit. A3, when Dream Eater dies, Beatrix restores 10% of her HP. So she's able to heal herself, which I think is an interesting mechanic. I don't know where that would be useful, especially as a platform unit, but it could definitely help to keep her from dying in areas where there's high AoE damage. So, it's interesting. Cost -3. I forgot to check what her base cost was. We'll go over base stats in a second. And then, enhanced. So this enhances her ultimate. Increases the number of Dream Eaters summoned by the ultimate by 1. So it goes from 2 to 3. And then when the talent is triggered, there's a 25% chance to summon 2 Dream Eaters. So basically her A5 is just making sure that she always has all of her summons up when she's in the ult, giving her 3 immediately. Plus it's already reducing that the cooldown of her talent, giving her more summons quicker, and it just gives it a higher chance to summon 2 summons. Well, it gives it a chance to summon 2 instead of summoning 1, so doubling the amount of summons you have from the talent. So that's interesting. I don't know how she's gonna do, considering her range, but let's go over base stats real quick. So she has 4,000 attack, which is pretty low, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think that's all that high. It might not be bad considering she's an AoE mage, but if we go into another mage like Comet in a second, I think his base attack is higher than that, but Comet is also a beast, so her cost is 22, so that A4 is not bad. It reduces her cost down to 19, but we have seen like use of other 22 cost mages. It's not too bad. A lot of these summoners are a little bit more expensive, besides Xeris, who's 12 costs because he's just a demon. But attack interval is 3.5, pretty slow, and because she's a cultist she gains +3 crit rate, but I don't know. I don't think she's that great. I definitely think the better of the banner is going to be Comet, and we're going to go over him right now. He is, in my opinion, the best AoE mage in the game. Yeah, so her attack is really low. So if you go over to Comet and you check his attack, he has 4,633 at base. Plus he gains more from his A2. And yeah, so I don't think Beatrix is going to be all that great. I think she's going to be a little bit of a letdown. So I don't know how that range is going to do either, considering the only other hero with that range is Cratch, and Cratch is pretty much known for being garbage. So we'll start with Comet over here. This is definitely going to be the better 2 of the banner, but we're going to have to see if there's going to be new content released where Beatrix can be used. Like any summoner-based content, she would probably be better for, but we'll see. So Comet, The talent Obliteration Strike deals 400% extra damage to enemies who have not been attacked. So the first time he attacks an enemy, he does basic attack damage, and then he is doing 400% extra damage right on top of it. So that's just crazy good, and you'll see there's more synergy to that in his kit. So you'll go over to his basic attack, deals 100% damage to 2 enemy targets at once. So his basic isn't AoE damage, but he is doing single target damage to 2 different enemies, and then he also is doing that Obliteration Strike, so 120% plus that 400%, he's doing 520% immediately to the enemy on the first hit, which is pretty good. Ultimate is great, 15 seconds. Each attack deals 320% AoE damage, lasting up to 15 seconds. The AoE damage increases all the way up to 400%, and the effect duration goes up by 5 seconds, up to 20 seconds, which is crazy. And the skill cost goes down to 1200, which isn't too bad, but considering he's an Esotericist, you can use it, oh lord, and it'll cut that down by a lot. So, moving on, we have Curse of Obliteration. Every 7 attacks apply Curse to that enemy target. The next attack to an enemy target with Curse can trigger Obliteration Strike again. So that's where we get our synergy with Obliteration Strike. He applies Curse on his basic attack, and when he's attacking an enemy with Curse, he's just activating that Obliteration Strike again, meaning he can do that big burst of damage. And Curse isn't bad either, because it just prevents them from attacking for 2 seconds. It's not really all that useful. It is a little helpful in Gear Raid 1 when enemies are attacking the wall, but it's not going to be a major difference unless you can pump it out on a whole bunch of enemies at once and a lot. Curse duration goes all the way up to 4 seconds, and the required attacks to trigger this goes down to 5. So every 5 attacks, he's doing that burst. And finally, his final talent is Infernal Plague. Upon killing a target, the hero's attack will bounce off to 2 enemy targets, dealing 120% magic damage. This goes all the way up to 160%, and it's really good. I know if you get to his A5, which is a lot, but if you get his A5, this also applies Curse, meaning that he's going to spread this up to 2 more enemies, and then he's going to be able to trigger Obliteration Strike on them and do a whole bunch of damage, kill more enemies, and then his basic attack that's not AoE kind of just chains into his kit, and it can do a lot of damage to a lot of enemies very quickly. Like if you have a whole bunch of weak enemies, he does Obliteration Strike, this attack spreads to the other enemies, kills them, triggers Infernal Plague, and then if you have his A5, triggers Obliteration Strike, and pretty much is like a constant repeat as long as there's a big wave of enemies. So this is where a lot of Comet's value comes from, in my opinion. It makes his ultimate even better, as he's dealing huge AoE damage to a whole bunch of enemies. He doesn't even have to kill any of them, he just has to kill one, and then he can wipe off all those weaker enemies and then finish off the rest from this. And then if you go over to his awakenings are amazing. So A1, Infernal Plague bounces to an extra target. Like how I was just saying, that's great. Now it goes from 2 to 3, basically increasing its damage by 50%, but it also gives you a higher chance of hitting a low HP enemy and then being able to take them out and trigger it again. So it's just doing more and more damage and kind of stacking. So even though it's really single target damage to a few enemies, it's really doing, like, it turns into what is almost AoE damage. His A2 is 5% attack, which I'm not sure off the top of my head how much that is. My Comet's A4, so I can always go and check on mine. But that's really great, as the best artifact for any mage is Tear of Twilight. So I think unless like you have a Twin Fiend or something like that, or a Nora, where her exclusive is better. But for the baseline for mages, is that the best artifact is Tear of Twilight. And then his A3 increases his ultimate's attack range. So right now you kind of have his standard range. This is going to extend, and you see that single tile that there's 2 tiles next to it, and then it almost becomes like vortex range, where it's closer to Ajax range, where you take the middle 2 tiles and you extend them out 1 row, and it becomes like this almost box with the corners cut off, and it just makes him able to enemies that are just far out of his range. So if you're using him in like arena, when the enemies spawn in, you can just snipe them right as they enter, kill all the enemies before they even move. If Comet do that and get him in line with your team, and like maybe in front of your tank or along with your Dolores. And I think it's a pretty good awakening. And then you go on to A4, Rage Regen Auto. That's just gonna allow him to get his ult up so much quicker, because he's just gaining an extra rage when even if he's not attacking. Well, I think it's every second. So I think that's a pretty good one. And then finally you have his A5, which is the one that I was talking about. If I am reading this correctly, this should be crazy. He is dealing damage. When he deals damage with Infernal Plague, he inflicts Curse on the target, allowing him to activate his talent, doing the 400% extra damage, probably killing the enemy. If not, he'll be like maybe get like another basic off, or like hit them a few more times, they'll die, or he'll kill another enemy. Infernal Plague is going to kill them, or if not, he'll kill them with his talent, and then he'll keep spreading it around, doing big damage to a whole bunch of enemies. Comet, if you haven't realized, is an amazing hero. I definitely recommend, if you don't have him, that you're going to want to get him. But that kind of takes us into the should you summon section of this video. So the epics aren't really that great if you need epics. Maul, I think, is great really early game. Lightlock is a fusion hero, so that's that. Baron is pretty good if you need a tank that has unyielding. He can survive a little bit longer. He can help you out in your gear rate too. So those ones are bet. Lightlock, not a fan. Definitely not a fan. I keep summoning that guy. I don't want a Lightlock. He's not doing much for me. But I say, if you're a low spender, or you don't have many summons, or you're free to play and you just like went crazy on the banner like I did, the last one we just had at Halloween, Hex Twyla, I'm just gonna say don't summon, even if you don't have a Comet, because as far as we know, there's gonna be a limited coming up, probably around Christmas, and if not, maybe February, and you're gonna want to start saving, because I think it's gonna be Gwendolyn next on like Christmas time. We haven't seen Gwendolyn in over a year. She's pretty decent. She's kind of like Vortex, but she's not a healer. Instead, she just gives big shields. But you definitely want to save for limited heroes. And there's another hero that was leaked. That's name is Beelzebub, or Bubba. And he, as far as we can tell, might be the new best hero in the game when it comes to support. As a damage dealer, not going to be insane, but if you can get him to A3, he will be getting his ult up quicker than a Dolores. He'll have the same attack, but he'll also be giving like magic resistance and stuff like that on top of it. He'll be able to get his ult up quicker than a Dolores. And even though the inspiration is a little bit less, he gets Tear of Twilight. So he's not only summoning, he's not only inflicting magic resistance, he's also giving inspiration, and he has like this really interesting range. It's just like this huge long rectangle. I think it's like a 5x3 rectangle of range, and it's insane. So I'm definitely gonna be looking out for him, because we don't know when he might be coming. As far as we know, he's not coming yet, but he should be insane. So I'm definitely gonna hold out for that, and that's also something to be cautious about. Is Beelzebub's coming, or Bubba? You have a limited hero that might be around the corner, and you also don't know what's gonna come up for like Christmas or Thanksgiving or New Year's. I think last year on New Year's we had a nascent summoning banner. We also had a 1+1 banner, and then we had Gwendolyn around the same time because of Christmas. So there was a lot of events going on. So there's definitely stuff to be saving for. So I'm not going to be summoning. I have an A4 Comet. I would like the A5. I'm not going to be summoning. If you don't have Comet, I would say if you're close to Pity, maybe you can try to snag him. But if you don't have all that many summons, I would just recommend just saving. I don't think Beatrix is going to be worth it. I honestly don't. Just judging by her kit, her attack is terrible. She doesn't have a great range. Her cost is 22, which can be kind of expensive. She's not going to be used anywhere of importance. I can't see her being used in Gear Raid 1 when you can have other options like a Comet or a Vierna or even a Boreas or something like that. There's so many other options you can use for an AoE mage. So I'm just going to say no, don't summon on this one for now. But at the end of the day, the choice is up to you. But I wanted to show you guys one more thing. So I wanted to go over to my Comet and show you what his attack gets up to, because I can't remember. So his base attack goes up to 4,364. So that's like an 100 and something increase on his. It's like maybe 150 something percent on his A2, which isn't as great as the base 300 attack, but also his attack is high for an AoE mage. Plus, it's going to get boosted by Tear of Twilight, so it's doing more than you would expect. But that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.